Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. You know, we've talked about how COVID-19 has impacted a whole bunch of different industries and a whole bunch of different businesses. And one of the things that I wanted to find out is how has COVID-19 impacted litigation, particularly criminal litigation, but both criminal and civil litigation. And so I reached out to someone that I know. Her name is Elham Jamshidi. She is a barrister and a solicitor. She works with a firm, Jamshidi and Associates. She's got a law degree with Queen's University, a Doctor of Laws, a JD, but she also has got a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology from York University. And she's got a fascinating background because she's represented, she says, individuals from all backgrounds charged with a full spectrum of criminal offenses, including murder, sexual assault, robbery, guns, gangs, fraud, and drug offenses. And so it's going to be interesting chatting to her about some of her experiences. Hello, welcome to my show. How are you,
I'm good. Thank you, Brian. Thank you for inviting me.
So let's start out with, why litigation? Why was that your interest when you went through law school?
Well, I mean, there's history behind it. My family and I, we immigrated to Canada when I was very young. I was born in Iran, and my father was religiously persecuted and he was falsely imprisoned. And as a result, when he got out of custody, we moved to Pakistan for a year and came to Canada as refugees. And so I knew from a very young age that my purpose in life was to fight for the underdog, to fight for justice, and to fight for freedom. And so maybe when I was 9 years old, fast forward, and here I am with my own litigation firm fighting for justice and freedom.
I have on LinkedIn another Elham Jamshidi as a contact. Is that your mother by any chance?
It is not. She, I think, is a paralegal that works at another law firm, I believe, in Richmond Hill. Okay. So we're two. It's the same name, but we're two different people. I've never met her, actually.
Sorry to ask. Your father persecuted. That must have been traumatic.
It was. I mean, I was very young, so I don't remember much of it. I just knew that freedom, rights, the government respecting people's rights, having the right to speak, having a right to vote, having a right to have a voice, having a right to be treated fairly as you go through the court system are all important things that, as a criminal defense lawyer, it's my job to ensure that when a client is charged with a criminal offense, that they're treated fairly and equally as we go through the system.
So we'll go back to a bunch of these topics in more detail later, but just at the top, how's litigation changed during COVID-19?
Oh my goodness, how has it changed? So there's definitely pros and there's definitely cons. So let's talk about the pros. A lot of people don't understand that when you get charged with a criminal offense, even from criminal law to civil law, there's a lot of unnecessary court appearances that needs to be done to kind of ensure that the individual is, going through the process, following the procedure. And there's a lot of court appearances that must be had before an actual trial is held. Those court appearances, which we call set dates, have now been not eliminated, they still exist, but I don't have to get up in the morning and drive to a courthouse to adjourn a client's matter or to go and get disclosure. I can now do it on Zoom and just stay at home or stay in my office and do those adjournments on Zoom. I don't need to go into the courthouse to get the disclosure. It's made it efficient in that way. We're getting modernized with the times. So a lot of the courthouses are now allowing us to get the disclosure, which is the evidence against the client, via email or via the internet. We can download it and receive it that way. Prior to COVID-19, in order to get disclosure, we'd have to go to court during the set date, make the request, and they would give it to us in person. So
do you think it's better?
in that regard, it is definitely more efficient. It's much better. We're saving a lot more time without having to make these court appearances that are necessary, but they're not necessary per se. You can have a much more efficient way of dealing with these court appearances, such as automatic adjournments, such as, calling in the telephone or having Zoom court appearances.
We're chatting tonight with Elham Jamshidi, who's a barrister and solicitor with Jamshidi and Associates, about litigation during COVID-19. We're going to take a break for some messages and come right back. Stay with us.
Hello.
Welcome back to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. We're chatting tonight with Elham Jamshidi, who is a barrister and solicitor with Jamshidi and Associates. She's a lawyer, solicitor, and barrister in downtown Toronto, with specializing in litigation, particularly criminal litigation. And it sounds really quite fascinating, her the cases that she has been involved in the past. So we were talking, Elham, about Zoom and COVID-19. I was involved in a courtroom setting today that was actually, I thought, incredibly efficient. So all the lawyers and the clients and the master were all present. And when different evidence came up, they did a Zoom share screen, and they were able to take the master right to the section and indicate with highlighting what it was, and flip back and forth between the different people. And no one had to fly in or drive in. People came in from different cities around the country. It was really efficient. And afterwards I asked, and the lawyers all said, this actually worked better than it had in the past. But they weren't in the same room. So no body language. You couldn't sort of tell when someone was looking at their emails or their telephone rather than paying attention. What do you think? Is it better?
So I think, I'm pretty sure that you didn't sit in on a Zoom criminal trial, because I'm assuming it was a civil matter? It
was a civil matter.
Yeah. So with respect to criminal trials, it's much different, because 99.9% of the time, criminal trials is a credibility contest. And so the mannerisms of a witness, how they interact with the lawyer, their body language, all of those things play a huge role in assessing the credibility of a witness. And so it's not as easy as, reading out documents and then asking questions with respect to it. A lot of the times it's he said, she said. Whose story are you going to believe? And so I think that...
is that good or bad? Shouldn't evidence sort of have to stand on its own, and first impressions or impressions on body language, or whether the person looks you in the eye or smiles, is that really the better way to judge people?
Well, the story is relevant. So how and what they say, and if you're testing their story to see if it's, credible and reliable and trustworthy, is one aspect. But certainly looking at someone's body language, their facial expressions, is there a delay in how they answer a question? Are they looking at someone for an answer? All of these elements play a role in assessing someone's credibility. Otherwise, and that's why in criminal law, the accused person has a right to go in front of their accuser when they're standing trial to see, look, what are the allegations that are being made against me? What are they? And has a right to cross-examine to test the reliability and the credibility of their evidence.
So are criminal cases being done by Zoom, or are they still in person?
Both.
And what you're saying is you don't trust the Zoom cases, or don't want to be in the Zoom ones.
So I can say this. I have not yet done a Zoom trial. I don't feel comfortable with the Zoom trial. I think that doing a preliminary inquiry would be okay via Zoom if you're doing it as way of a discovery to kind of get the evidence out and just want to get the story out before you set it up for the trial proper. But an actual trial, where credibility is the main issue of the trial, I certainly would want to be in person doing an in-person trial.
And so can you request that or demand that, or can that be a requirement of a lawyer for her client?
Absolutely. And so the courts actually are very good in, first of all, asking if there is a preference, whether it be done via Zoom or be done in person. And once the defense counsel makes a request that it be done in person, then the courts will most definitely accommodate that. Now, there are issues with having a trial in person because of COVID as well. Everyone is enclosed in plexiglass. From the judge is enclosed in plexiglass. All the lawyers are enclosed in plexiglass. The witnesses on the witness stand is enclosed in plexiglass. You have to wear a mask as you're cross-examining. Getting into the courthouse, you have to do a questionnaire. So there is a lot of inconveniences that are put in place because of COVID-19. So it's not a go to court as usual.
Is the accused and the accuser wearing a mask, or do they have to take the masks off?
Everyone has to wear a mask. And sometimes...
so do you really get those facial expressions then, the body language, if they're wearing a mask? And
so the judge will determine, depending on, the defense lawyer can make the request and say, look, I want the witness's face mask to be taken off as I'm asking the questions. And every judge will have a different, will allow it. Some judges will allow it, some judges won't allow it. It depends on the judge. It's their courtroom and they run the courtroom as they deem fit.
This is really interesting because, what you're saying is how you react to a question with your body language, your facial expressions ends up being critically important, such that you, a lawyer, an experienced lawyer, don't trust doing that by way of Zoom because you don't think you can read people's credibility. And what it says is that the evidence isn't as important as I thought it was. The law isn't as important as I thought it was. It's more the trustworthiness or the credibility, the facial expressions. And can't you fake that? Can't you take lessons on acting of that? Can't you fool a judge and fool a lawyer based on your facial expressions and body language?
Of course you can. But I think it's more so you want to get the full experience. If someone is lying, making up a false allegation, hypothetically, someone's, making up a false allegation against somebody else. As they're speaking, and as a lawyer, I'm cross-examining them and I'm testing their story to see if the story makes sense, if the story kind of adds up. As you're doing that, the evidence plays a huge role, of course, but also their mannerisms of how they answer, how quickly they answer, what is their facial expression also plays a role in it. I mean, so for example, with you, you're doing a radio show and people that are only listening to us on the radio can't see our facial expressions, but I'm certain if someone sees us in person or sees us on the computer screen, how they interpret or how they receive the information, I think will have a different element.
No, but via video, aren't you getting the facial expressions? What you're saying is no, the facial expressions in real life are different than the facial expressions you get even through a good video.
It's the body language. Are they looking at someone else for the answers? Who else? So there's a lot of moving parts when you do a trial and as you're cross-examining a witness. And so prior to COVID, the only way that you could have, one of the only ways that you could have a witness testify behind a screen, especially a complainant in a matter, would be the Crown would have to bring a motion making the request if the complainant was underage or the complainant was vulnerable. And so you would have to have a voir dire on this to see if it was appropriate, and the judge would make a ruling on that motion. And so because of COVID-19, things have now significantly changed where the courts are kind of at the mercy of the defense lawyers and the Crown attorneys on determining if this trial would be appropriate for a Zoom trial or a trial in person. And again, me personally, I've done litigation my entire career, and it's something that I'm passionate about, something that I love. I prefer to go into a courtroom and litigate and cross-examine and test the credibility of the witnesses that way.
Why are you passionate about litigation? Is this from your father being a someone that was persecuted in Iran, or is it something else?
Well, I mean, that's where it started, but I cannot see myself doing anything else. I absolutely love it. I love my clients. I love my colleagues. I love the courthouse and the whole experience of litigation and running a firm. It really is, I feel like I'm living my dream. I feel so blessed. I absolutely love what I do.
Wonderful. Well, that's the secret to success in life is being passionate about whatever it is that you're doing. And I do a speech called Find Your Ikigai. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the concept of Ikigai, but it's key to finding out what makes you tick. And sounds like you found that. So congratulations. That's wonderful.
Thank you. Yeah, I love it.
So I guess the question I got to ask you then, which is the question that lots of litigation lawyers are asked, is if you know someone's a criminal and you know they're guilty, can you still defend them?
And, so this is a question that I get asked very frequently. And I'll say this. When I represent an individual and I agree to be their lawyer, I am representing the person and not the crime. So as a lawyer, if I agree to take on your case, and I don't take on every case, not depending on the offense or the crime, it really depends on if our personalities get along, if we mesh, if I can trust them. Once I agree to be their lawyer, I'm representing the person and not the crime. It's not my function to judge them if they're guilty or not guilty. I'm not the judge, I'm the lawyer. My function is to represent them the best that I can, to see what the evidence is against them and to ensure that their Charter of Rights is not violated and that they receive a fair trial as they go through the criminal justice system.
But if you know they're guilty and, it says that you've been involved in sexual assault and rape and gang issues, if you know they're guilty, do they still deserve your defense?
So I wish there was. A lot of people think that a client will come to you and say, hey, by the way, I went and I robbed this bank. Will you defend me? Like, it doesn't work like that. But I will give you a hypothetical. So for instance, someone can be guilty factually, but not guilty in law. So if I can elaborate on that. So for example, say I go into a supermarket and there's a man that has a knife to my throat. I then hypothetically have a gun in my purse. I take out the gun and I shoot the man. I've killed the man. The man is dead because I shot him. So factually, yes, I killed a person, but legally, am I guilty of murder? That's self-defense. So you're not guilty of murder because you're defending yourself. And that's just a hypothetical example that I'm giving. So law is not black and white. Law is very gray. So a lot of the times when people think, well, look, this person's charged with this, they did this, so therefore they must be guilty. It really isn't as simple as that.
It sounds like you love it and you're passionate about it. So that's wonderful.
Thank you.
Well, congratulations. We're chatting tonight with Elham. Help me pronounce your last name again.
Jamshidi.
Jamshidi. Thank you so much. We're going to take a break. Come back with Elham in just a minute with some more. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour. We're chatting tonight with Ellen Jamshidi of Jamshidi and Associates. She's a litigation lawyer in Toronto. She's got a Bachelor of Psychology from York University and a JD from Queen's University Law School. Jamshidi, sorry, Elham, Jamshidi, I came across you because you had a Instagram account that was kind of interesting. And I wondered why you're doing it. Tell us about the Instagram account and why you're doing it.
So let me start off with my Instagram handle. It's called lawyer.in.heels. It's an Instagram account where I created in hopes of inspiring females, but people in general, to live their authentic life, to be inspired to follow their dreams, to follow their goals, to really ignore the outside noise. And my biggest message to my followers is, look, what other people think of you is none of your business. Being a female lawyer in the criminal justice system hasn't been easy. I'm a female lawyer that loves my femininity. I love to wear high heels. I love to wear mini skirts. I love to wear bright colors. These are the things that are not traditionally accepted for lawyers. People have an expectation or a mold that lawyers ought to fit. And for me, I'm claustrophobic. I don't want to fit a mold. I want to be myself.
Okay, but when I first saw the Instagram account, I thought it was a fashion website Instagram account. And you must get, I know some females that get so many incredibly inappropriate comments from whoever it is, men, I presume, on whatever kind of post they make. And your posts, you are in high heels and sometimes in short skirts. Do you get inappropriate comments?
So, and I will say this, that majority of my followers are females, young females, where I get messages on a daily thanking me for the inspiration, thanking me for really promoting being a woman and owning it and being a professional. Because aside from being a lawyer, I also have a passion for fashion. This is who I am. And when I do get inappropriate comments, and it's very, very rare, I'll be very honest with you, it's very rare and very inappropriate, I will send a direct message to someone to let them know that it's not okay, it's disrespectful, and then I will then delete the comment and away they go. So I haven't had any crazy issues with my Instagram. Sorry, the light, I'm in the office and the light goes off at a certain time.
So you really don't get inappropriate comments. That's fantastic.
And when I do, I put an end to it immediately.
So I have some friends that, they like you, enjoy dressing fashionably and will wear high heels and short skirts and things like that, and then attract a whole bunch of negative attention. And so much so that they say, it's almost like I can't be sexy, I can't be feminine, I can't be fashionable on social media and a business person at the same time.
And this is the stereotype that I'm trying to break. We're in 2020. This whole traditional concept where you have to wear a black suit and it has to be below the knees and you have to dress conservatively, that's for back in the early 1900s. We're in 2020 now. And women are now in positions of power. Women are now in positions of authority. They're educated, they're professionals, and we should be able to dress any way that we want as long as we are doing our jobs well.
Did you dress like this in law school?
I did.
What was the reaction there?
So I can say that I have always been this person. I've always loved fashion. I've always loved mini skirts. I've always loved high heels from when I was 14 years old. And so my mother really taught me that other people's opinion of you is none of your business. Everyone's going to have an opinion, so it doesn't matter what they say. Ignore the outside noise and you do what makes you happy. And you live your authentic life as to what it is. And I define it, and this is exactly what I'm doing. You know, when I go into a courtroom, I absolutely defend my clients. I turn over every possible rock defense available for them. I'm very educated. I love what I do, but I also have a passion for fashion, and I also embrace my femininity.
Now, there was a lawyer, a litigation lawyer in Toronto who got a lot of press when defending a couple of people coming in into court with short skirts and very high heels, not you, but someone else. And some people were saying that she did it for attention and she did it to disarm people and get the upper hand. Do you think it works to your advantage?
I think there's pros and cons. The pro is I get to wear what makes me happy, and some people love it. Some people look down upon me and think that it's inappropriate. But at the end of the day, I'm living my life for myself. And so when you're a lawyer, you should be allowed to be a lawyer, but you're also a human being. So you should be allowed to dress how you want, as long as it's not, you know, as long as it's not hurting anyone. I should be able to have a social media platform, again, as long as it's not hurting anyone. And I think for me, my message to anyone that doesn't know me is, look, you can be anything that you want to be, but be the best version of that person and live your authentic life.
Have you ever had a client or a partner ask you to tone it down?
Never. My clients, I can say, are the absolute best. You know, my clients are my biggest fans. My clients, I adore them and they adore me. And no, and like I said, I'm not for everyone. Not everyone is going to love me. Not everyone is going to like me. I'm not meant for everyone, and that's okay. The ones that matter, I'm meant for, and those are the ones that I will defend. Those are the people that I will work with. Those are the people that I'm meant for. You know, I am very assertive. I'm very loud, and you know, I embrace who I am.
Well, congratulations for being authentic and embracing who you are, and for standing up for your right to dress the way that you want to dress. And you know, in a world where so many people conform to you know, mass jeans or casual wear or gray suits or blue suits or gray flannel, whatever it is, congratulations. And I think that it's wonderful that you're doing what you're doing. And so.
Can I say something, Brian? Sorry. And just to be clear, I don't think there's anything wrong with people wearing black suits or navy suits or dressing casually, if that's what makes them happy, if that's who they are. My message is dress the way that you want to dress, not because society tells you that this is how you should dress. That's my message. So if someone wants to be in pajamas all day, be in pajamas all day. Or if they want to wear a black suit all day, wear a black suit all day. That's okay, as long as that's what makes you happy.
Do you get dressed up in work clothes every day, or in COVID-19, are you in jeans and a t-shirt?
So initially when COVID hit, I would get up, I would get dressed up because I just felt so much more fresh to start my day, dressed up. But I can say in all honesty, if I don't have court, I am in track pants and sweatshirts and being extremely casualed out.
So you say that law is your passion. You've mentioned that fashion is a passion as well. And obviously your Instagram account and what you've said speaks to that. What else? Are you involved at all in any Iranian, Middle Eastern, other issues?
I am. I'm actually been part of different organizations. I volunteer with high-risk youth in Rexdale. I mentor a lot of law students and a lot of young lawyers. that come on board to wanting to be in the legal profession. But outside of law, I also love to cook. I love to bake. I love to party plan. And my Instagram will show you a little bit of all that, of who I am. So being a lawyer is one thing. But aside from being a lawyer, I'm very family oriented. And I do try to volunteer my time with, at high risk youth. In the Iranian community, I also try to volunteer some time. And I'm just, I wake up every day.
Why high risk youth?
I think it's important that the high risk youth understand that just because you are in a circumstance in this moment, for example, in poverty, it does not mean that this is how it has to be. The one wonderful thing about Canada is that you have endless opportunities. And I mean endless. It's yours to go and grab, but you have to do the legwork. You have to put in the work. And so one of the things is that you're not going to be successful at the first try or the second try, but don't give up. Keep trying. You will eventually succeed. And so that there is something to be said to take advantage of these opportunities, to go to school, get an education, learn, get a purpose in life. Wake up each day with intention and go and achieve your goals. And my biggest message to the youth out there is if you can dream it, you can achieve it. But it's all up to you and you have to put in the time and the work.
What about Iran? Iran's obviously going through massive issues of late. What are you doing in regards to the Middle East and Iran, if anything?
It breaks my heart. There's still a lot of religious persecution happening in Iran. I'm not doing anything involving anything in Iran at all. I haven't been back since I left. I have no intention of going back to Iran, since I left. And I think it's very sad. It's a country of oppression, a country of dictatorship. And I feel bad for the people that are there. Because they really have so much potential, so much to give back to the world. And unfortunately, they're just suppressed with the government regime that's in place right now.
It really is a shame. I've met so many people, and Persia was one of the most industrialized, westernized areas of the Middle East for a long period of time. Very educated, great arts and culture and universities, etc. And was westernized in a lot of ways. And what's happened in the last, 40 years, 50 years almost, has really taken it back almost a generation in time, has it not?
It has. I think when the Shah was in power, it was a monarchy, and he was definitely trying to modernize Iran. And, we had a lot of gold, a lot of oil, a lot of, rich cultures from history, poetry, the arts. And when the Shah was overthrown, unfortunately, it became a dictatorship. And it still continued to be a dictatorship. And this is why I'm just thankful to be living in Canada, and I'm thankful for the opportunities that Canada has given me and my family. And we are definitely giving back to the Canadian society because we are very thankful for this opportunity.
We're chatting tonight with Elham Jamshidi, a litigation lawyer in Toronto. We're going to take a break and come back with some final comments in just a minute. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour. We're chatting, interesting chat with Elham Jamshidi, a litigation lawyer, a criminal litigation lawyer with Jamshidi and Associates in Toronto. And we've been having a fascinating conversation about litigation during COVID-19, and then also about her Instagram account where she wants to be authentic and make a statement that you can be authentic and wear what you want to wear and be proud of it. And I congratulate her in that regard. Elham, you've done sexual assault and rape and gang and violence and things like that. Can you talk about any of those cases with me? Tell me some of the stories.
Brian, I would love to, but out of respect for my client's privacy, I don't want to violate that. So I'm not going to talk about any specific cases that I've done. What I can say is I absolutely have done many homicides, many gang, guns, drugs, sexual assault, robberies, fraud, drugs, organized crime, you name it, I've done it, but I'm not going to talk about any specific case out of respect for my clients.
So you're dealing with some people that have either done or been accused of some pretty nasty stuff.
Absolutely.
Is that tough on you?
Not at all. Not at all. No. I love what I do.
You've never gone home and put your hands over your head or thrown up or been sick or whatever based on what you've heard?
The only time that I've done that is after a long day of trial. I'll think of a question in the middle of the night where I'm like, I should have asked that one question. But other than that, like I said, when I take on a client, it's because I like them, I respect them, I trust them, and I want to work with them. And I want to be their shield. I want to protect them. And so I've done a lot of very cases where factually they're horrendous. I mean, horrendous. That being said, I don't want to minimize the complainant or, the allegations. For example, a homicide. If someone is in fact deceased, then, that's what it is. But it doesn't mean that my client is the person that killed the person or that my client was there. Or, there's a lot of moving parts that play a role in a criminal case. And so, like I told you earlier, if I agree to take on your case, I'm representing you with 150% of myself. And we have a bonded, trusted relationship from beginning to the very end.
I was the foreman on a jury trial of a murder case. And we went through a whole bunch of evidence about this blood splatter and that blood splatter and this gun and that gun and where they were used and how they were not appropriately stored. And we saw pictures of the deceased. We saw pictures of blood. We saw pictures of parts of bodies. I was sick to my stomach. But I guess you just get used to it after a while.
You become very desensitized. Now, that being said, I remember when I was a baby lawyer, and I will say this, I was a law student and I was working at a criminal litigation firm as a student. And it was the first homicide that I had done with the senior lawyer. And I remember sitting at the counsel table, and as the pathologist is testifying, he's showing pictures of the deceased. Is going through because causation was an issue. And the tears are rolling down my face. And the senior lawyer looked at me and he said, you know what? You're a criminal lawyer. Go clean yourself up, come back, and you better act like one. And after that day, I realized that I got to keep my emotions intact. And I have a job to do. And so I don't get emotionally attached to crimes of scenes or anything of that nature. We become desensitized to it.
Sounds like that tough line from that senior lawyer was very helpful to you. You say you mentor young lawyers. Do you have some tough lines that you give them?
Absolutely. I don't even know where to start. I have a very assertive personality, and I have a personality where it could be offensive to some because I speak my mind. I have very little filter when I'm speaking my mind. And I show tough love to my students. And I say, listen, don't worry what other people say about you or think about you. You just act in a moral way. You do the best that you can you can do as a student, a lawyer to be, and everything else will fall into place.
Elham Jamshidi, litigation lawyer in Toronto. If people want to access some of your services because they've been accused of something bad, how do they get you? Do you have a website?
I certainly do. It's criminallawlitigation.com. So criminallawlitigation.com, or my office number is 416-363-7172.
And do you want people to follow you on Instagram if they want fashion advice?
If you want fashion advice or some inspiration, you can follow me on Instagram at lawyer.in.heels.
Well, Elham, thank you so much for joining us and telling us a little bit about what it's like to be a lawyer, particularly a criminal litigation lawyer during COVID-19. And I think if I could, just to close out, I think that Elham is right, that being able to be yourself, be authentic, wear what you want to wear, and post it on social media and not be criticized for it. I think Elham's probably very lucky that she doesn't get a lot of negative comments, because I have heard from too many people that if they post anything at all feminine or sexual or fashionable that shows any leg or anything else, that they get a whole bunch of very negative comments from guys, and that's inappropriate. And I think that things that people think they can say in social media that they never would say in real life, should be left unsaid, and we should keep those opinions to ourselves. Elham and any other lawyer or business person or real estate agent or whoever should be able to get dressed the way they want and put on social media their persona the way they want without criticism from others. So thank you for not only the legal work that you're doing, Elham, but for the example that you're showing to female lawyers about authenticity and being confident in who they are. Thanks for joining us tonight, both Elham and everyone else. Join us again every Monday through Friday at 6 o'clock on the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on 960 AM or saga960am.ca if you want to live stream us, or you can find all my webcasts or videocasts after the fact on my website, briancrombie.com. Thanks, Elham. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you.
Good night, everybody.